So 482, now that we've gone all the way through the CRUD operations, now we're going to circle back and now update for some of the other items the inputs we haven't accommodated in our code as a great time to review because you're in the process now of building out your decision app, which will include many of the patterns that we've seen. And so now we're going to get some review and just a bit of coding. So this time we're going to talk about and implement water consumption. So let's just look at that. Okay. So in this case, based on this calculation, they're going to look at how often you run. If you run a washer or dryer 9 times per week, per day would be a lot, then add 3 points. If you run it between 4 to 9, add 2. And then if you run it 1 to 3, add 1, right? And if you don't have a dishwasher, add nothing. Okay, so in that case, this logic is, you have to think about how do I code that. Now we will get there in this exercise, but just, it is good to read something like this and think, how would I write? Would I write a switch? Probably not. I'd write an if-else here. Oh, and I didn't even read the last part. If you have a dishwasher and a washing machine, right, if you have both, then perform the calculations twice. Okay, so FYI. Okay, all right, so let's get started. Okay, so I have the instruction open and you'll need to add the following things into your index file. So we'll have a new, and I started where it should flow in the file. I believe I handled that, but if not, just find it. We have the breakdown in the results part. We add an LI. We have in the table heading, we have water. And then for the field sets, for the inputs, here are the ones we need. Okay, so add those before we get started. And what it should look like is the only difference here we see is the water consumption, but of course all those other things are going to show up. Matter of fact, you can already see here that threw it off because we don't have it in there, which is totally fine. Okay, I'm going to start by going to inspect. Okay, I'm going to look at these because in this case I can see based on water consumption, and because I've had now thought through the process, I'm going to have 3 inputs. The user can tell how many times a week, have a dishwasher, have a washing machine, right? So they can click into any of these, right? So these are check boxes. Unlike the check box that we had up here, it was only one. So now, it is still a check box, but unlike a radio button, you can have them both checked. Okay? The other thing I'm going to do, and just to make my life a little easier, is, and do I have water consumption? Here we are. Okay, form checkbox group. Okay, has dishwasher. Okay, good. Let me actually bring them all down and you'll see why in a minute. The label for the IDs. The IDs is what I want to grab when I start coding in a minute. Matter of fact, I might just grab this one. So I know I'm going to need each of these IDs. So I'm going to bring over my editor. I'm going to think about, okay, so let's start with, in this case, the form. Okay, because the form handler pretty much makes sense to start there, because if you think about it, okay, I don't know if I had this one in there, but go ahead and put it. Okay, so for now I'm going to add just these because some of this is just typing, some of it's review. So I'm going to, because I know I'm going to need all 3, I'm going to drop the label, okay, so, and again, I am just trying to make my life a little bit easier since I know I'm going to need IDs for all of them, and that helps drive some of the things I'm going to do. Okay, all right, so in here, before we can get our form inputs, okay, and before we can change our populate form inputs, we need to have references. So that's the thing you need to think of. When I'm starting something new, I need a new reference. So I'm going to say dish. And by the way, notice how, because I have this up there, it kind of helps me not have to type so much. Dishwasher washing machine runs. Okay, I know it's a long one, but it really does describe, and this is the input. Now actually I'm going to actually do something different even than this. I'll show you why in a minute. I'm actually going to do this because I know what the pattern looks like. Okay, so I'm going to say const, I'll fill in the and I'll just say variable in a minute. Okay, I know it's going to be equal to carbon footprint. I know it's going to be a query selector, and I know it's going to be, in this case, a string with the pound. Okay, so I know this pattern already, and I know I'm going to need 3. So why don't I just do 1, 2, 3? Okay, so now I can grab this one and go, okay, I know I'm going to need that. I know I'm going to need for my var, in this case, all I have to do is add input. Okay, so that's just me making it easier, okay, because I don't want to have to type so much. Good, and so my var, and just add input. Okay, get the last one. Oh, put it inside. So, you know, the thing is, you want to, at some point, once you understand what the code is doing, right, just to make your life a little bit easier. Now, how come I didn't do it here? Oh, I didn't. I just I started talking. I should just type. Maybe we'll have some where we just code along without me saying anything. At this point, you might like it. Okay. All right, so now we know we have that. So now let's talk about form inputs, right? What are we going to need for form inputs? Well, this would make sense. And now, remember, what we're doing here is we're setting up the references to the DOM. These have a different color because they haven't been used yet. Remember, it's query selector to go after the IDs. Okay, so if you're unsure of that, you know, now's a great time to ask. And so I'm going to come down here to my get form. Now, when I get form elements, remember, I'm returning an object literal. So when I'm setting this up, right, these are my keys, these are my values. Okay, so I have to think about, okay, I have an input of a number in this case, and I have 2 checkboxes. Okay, so let's see, numbers I've already handled before. I know how to do that. Checked, handled, I know how to do that as well. Okay, so see dot checked and then dot value. Okay, so let's come down here and I'm going to add a new one, so I'm going to hit a comma. Now, this is where I could just go in here and I say dishwasher. Now, I'm not going to use input, right? I'm just going to use dishwasher machine runs because that's the key that I've built, not the key in this case. Well, it is the key actually. Okay, and now I know I'm going to parse int. Okay, and what am I going to parse int? I'm going to parse int the dishwasher inputs. Okay, or, and we've learned this pattern up here, right? Or if it doesn't, you know, do 0. Comma. It's okay, you know, and that's where your editor is trying to make your life easier. Okay, so now has dishwasher. I'm going to take off input, colon, has dishwasher input dot checked, comma. Okay, has washing machine. I'm going to take off input because that's my key. Has washing machine input dot checked. Now, you know, we can make a mistake here. We're going to actually try to we'll get through this one in the next, hopefully all the places we need to do this. Okay, so now in form handler, the other thing I need to do, right, is go back up to populate. So let's go back up here to populate, right? So now let's think about what populate's doing. So populate is taking in an entry, which is from the results of a what. So this is, you know, the point of remembering, oh yeah, where is this called at, right? So the form handler is being called and passed an entry, right, from where? Okay, from the app.js, right? So if you don't remember, you go over and find it. And if you can't find it, you go populate. Oh, okay, yeah, populate, it's in the edit. Oh, that makes sense, right? It's in the edit. So remember, you're piecing back because we've written a bit of code at this point, okay? So now, dishwasher. Now in this case, we're populating the inputs, okay? Dot value, okay, equal to what? Now in this case, we're not having to run a helper function. We just want the inputs. So we're going to say entry dot dishwasher runs colon. Okay, because this is going to be setting those values for each one. Has dishwasher. Oh, but yep, inputs. Now this is a checked. Okay, has washing machine input checked. So this is where being consistent with your naming can really make your life easier, right? Because I'm just checking to make sure. Yep, dot checked for checkboxes. We're not doing radio buttons, so we're good to go. And this is where, again, as you're writing your own code, you'll start to go, okay, based on the inputs that I need. So the last thing we have to do on this form is actually add now, and we could add them here, right, is the what we want to set. So dishwasher runs input, in this case, is going to be equal to 0. Okay, has dishwasher, it's going to be what? Dot checked equal false. And I realized when I did these, I actually should have done them, and actually let's do them now, because I had the inputs. I'm not sure what happened there that I didn't diet. Ooh, all right, I better be a little more careful and figure out what those were named. Okay, so let's do the other one, right? So has real focus equals 0. Okay, good. Oh, actually, nope. I was wrong. These are checked. That's actually what I was doing. My bad. I like to put them in order. See what happens? You know, it's like squirrel. You ever squirrel? Okay, dot checked equals false. Whew. Okay, so those are all the changes we needed to do in the form handler. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open. Now think about, once I have them on the form handler, then where would I logically go next would be, right? Wouldn't it be the calculator? Because we need to calculate this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to open it to the side, have both of these open. And so now we're going to add a helper function. Okay. Now, by the way, I think in here I just did, yeah, so I actually give you, here's what we're going to do, right? So make sure, and I didn't do it, you put those in there. So now we're going to have a helper function for, okay, so this is important, and let's do it, yeah, let's do it right here, right before calculating, okay? So helper function, okay? So this is where understanding what they're asking you to do here, right? So it's going to take in, right? We're going to take in the number. We're also going to take in is dishwasher, right? Has dishwasher. And we're also going to take in has washing machine. Okay? So we know we're going to, and it's going to return the points. Okay. Cool. Right? So now let's do const, right? Calculate. Make sure you spell it right. Water consumption points. It's going to be equal to a function. It's going to take in dishwasher runs. It's going to take in has dishwasher. It's going to take in has washing machine. Okay, so it's taking in 3 inputs because it needs all 3 to do the logic it needs. Okay, so this is where one thing you would do is think about, okay, I'm going to be returning the points, right? In this case, because there's going to be multiple layers of if in two blocks of actually if logic, we need to go ahead and say let run points. So we'll set up a variable inside of here. We'll set its value to 0, and then we'll say, right? So let's review, right? If you run more than 9 times. Okay, so this one seems pretty easy. If dishwashing machine greater than 9, then what are we going to do, right? We're going to set run points equal to 3. Notice we're not returning yet because we have another block we're going to have to run for this other part. Okay, so just keep that in mind based on the way the logic here needs to be evaluated. Else if, okay, and I could go up here, but since I have these in memory. So now remember, at this point, once let's say it is greater than 9, once it sets this, it doesn't hit these other ones. So I don't have to worry about between a particular value because of the way I've written them. It'll just, and this would be greater than or equal to 4, okay? Then what do I do? Okay, run points. It's going to be equal to 2. Okay, so right here. Okay. Else if dishwashing machine run, and in this case, because we're passing the number in, greater than or equal to 1. Ooh. Okay. Now in this case, run points would be equal to 1. Okay, so now we've in this block set our run points if it falls in here. Okay, so now we're going to have another block. And matter of fact, I think I have some content for this, right? Yeah, actually, let's go here. Right. Remember, if you run both, right? So now let's do that logic. If, okay, has dishwasher and. So both of these have to be true, and washing machine, right? So if we have both, then we're going to return with run points times 2. Okay. Else if, and in this case has dishwasher or has washing machine. What are we going to do here? We're going to return just run points. Okay. Oh, I forgot to. I was a bad coder. Okay, so now on the last one, now we could just do kind of your default, right? Not kind of, but your default. Uber. So if it doesn't fall within these two cases, right? Let's go look at our, right? We did that part. Okay, and then if you don't have, do nothing, just returns whatever that value is, right? You have one or the other, so then you just return run points. Cool. Okay, so that's our logic. Probably the longest thing we'll have to do here, because now, right, so now that we have this, we go down and we go, okay, then I need to add. Do I have any content for that one? Yeah, let's do this one, right? So I should have said that here, because that is if greater than, if general water use. Actually, we'll put this here. Okay. All right. So now we have to do our total, right? So this would be const water consumption points is going to be equal to calculate water consumption. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, no, that's right. Water consumption points is going to be equal to calculate water consumption, and we're going to pass it data dot dishwasher runs, comma. Remember, we're passing it 3, in this case, parameters. Okay, arguments that become parameters, data dot has dishwasher, comma, dish has, oh, my bad, data dot has washing machine. Okay, good. Now we'll check all this when we get to the next one, because it's a little, we could actually just load it and see if we have any, but you know, in this case we'd have to calculate, which we could. We know we have some issues there, right? Okay, so now what we'd want to do, and this is the last thing for this one, so you know, hang in there, we're almost done. So now we'd say water consumption, right? So we're going to add water consumption, and we know that we here call it footprint, right? Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't even talk about what we're doing. We're calculating, we're getting the value, and now we're returning an object literal with that water consumption points. Okay, and because that is a object literal, we need to make sure, right, we've done that. Okay, so let's just see if there's any obvious. Okay, let's see, calculate. Let me just let it run. Oh, I do have one. Form handler. Oh, let's go see what that one is. Oh, that's on the clear form. It doesn't like what I did on the clear form. How come it doesn't like that one? Oh, right. Actually, that's on the handler. Let's go over here. Right, let's go over here. Let's think about why that one for me would have been an issue. Right, let's see. Dishwasher. Oh yeah, because I didn't say dot value. Oh, that one wasn't too bad. Let's run. Good. Okay. Good. Again, we're still off down here. We'll do that next. But at least do a test. Right? So our first one here, I don't have anything as of yet. I probably have it by the time you get here, is start update for water consumption. Then we'll move on to the next one.